Hi, everybody. I see that some people are starting to sign on, and I'm really happy to be here today. Let's give a few more minutes for people to get um, hooked up here, and then we'll get started. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Heidi. Let me know where you're from too, um, if you can. Can everybody hear me and see me okay? Kathy, if you're on there, if you could let me know if you can hear me. Hi, Lee. All right. Hi, everybody. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear me. Dorothy here in Missoula. Hi. All right. It's just 12 noon right now in Montana. I'm in Montana, so um, we'll give people a few more minutes, maybe another minute, and I'll get started. How many nature journalers are out there? All right. Great. Okay. Well, today I'm going to talk about how I use the QoR Mini in nature journaling. This is the QoR Mini, and inside. So I really like this little set for nature journaling, and I do a lot of that here in Montana. In fact, I was just over on the Front Range of Montana, over by Augusta and Choteau, this past weekend, and I really like wildflowers. So a lot of my journal content is wildflowers and landscape. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I take with me and um, and how easy it is to get outside and start nature journaling. So first of all, I have a journal, and I like the moleskin journal. I have some tabs in here because I'm going to show you some of the things I have. But I really like the thicker watercolor paper that's in here. And there's a pocket in the back so I can put my little QoR Mini swatch sheet that is in the Just Paint article by Kathy Jennings on the Golden site or on the Core site. And I like to tuck that in the back. So a little bit about me before I really get started is my name is Nancy Seiler, and I live in Missoula, Montana, and I am a golden working artist in Southern California down by San Diego and also in Montana. My home is in Montana, so I travel down to Southern California and do lecture demos in watercolor and acrylics and some oil and cold wax. Um, I I love um, I love watercolor. I started painting. I took the Denver Botanic Gardens botanical illustration certification course back in probably like 99, 2000, 2001. Um, got my certification with that and moved back to Montana and began teaching in 2003. And I started with classical botanical illustration and watercolor and graphite and colored pencils, and did that for many years, and then started nature journaling, which I found to be a lot more relaxing than looking under a magnifying glass at so much detail. I love plants, and nature journaling, when I was asked to do a class for some teachers here in Ovando, Montana, I didn't even know what nature journaling was. And so I went up there on the mountain at Mount Jumbo and here in Missoula, and I sat under a tree, and I was so relaxed, and I really just was looser with my work and not so worried about everything. And I really loved it. So I want to today just show you how easy it is to have a few supplies and start journaling in your own backyard. Even if you live in the city, you can find a little plant coming up through the sidewalk and take a close look at it under a magnifying glass. This is one of the things I have in my journal or in my bag, and just take a close look. I have a bag that I keep everything in, and so I can just grab and go when I want to go nature journaling. So in my bag, I have a mechanical pencil with an eraser, and easy to get a good point on that. A Micron Pigma ink pen. It's permanent. My brushes I like to use are a Princeton number 8 round. It's got a nice spring to it. I also have a Princeton flat Elite brush. And I think I sent Kathy the link, Kathy Jennings at Golden. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for your help to some of these things. I also really like the Silver Silk 88 for painting. It's got a nice spring to it. This is from Silver Brush. Also the silver white number 8 round. I really do like the number 8 rounds because I find that I can get a nice blend as well as detail. If you have a brush that comes to a nice point like this, you can get some really fine detail as well as turning it on its side and getting a nice wash. So I try to keep things simple. So you really only need one of these number 8 round brushes. If you like a travel brush and a little bit more detail, the ability for detail, this is a silver black velvet brush. Comes to a very nice point, and a benefit is you can tuck it right into that barrel and put it in your bag, and it's not going to get wrecked, getting bent in your bag. I also have a kneaded eraser because when I do my sketches, sometimes in pencil, I like to be able to quickly erase rather than use the end of this mechanical pencil. I also have, I saw this somewhere, this is an old sock, the top of an old sweat sock, and that I like to put on my wrist, like so, and I don't have to take paper towels or stuff like that out into the field. Of course, a water container. This is a little Nalgene water container that tucks right into my bag. So the journal, let me show you a few examples of my work. I'm going to switch cameras to, let's go with this one. Okay, so this is my journal, and I'm going to show you a few examples. I has as a reward, if you find it, it's karma, you know, because that's a good thing. Here is, I went on the Grand Canyon a couple years ago, and so these are some examples of using QoR watercolors in my journal. I have a event map. This is something I learned from Hannah Hitchman, where you walk around and look closely at just things really closely and just record what you see. So that's an example of that. Whoops. This is a quick little sketch up at Laughing Horse Lodge up in Swan Lake, where I do workshops now and then. I have one coming up at the end of June. Here's a couple other examples of plants. I found a dead bird in my friend's backyard and actually drew some parts of that bird. Here's an actual feather of a pine siskin. And then again, some more event maps from Utah. And more from Escalante, where I also do workshops down there. It's a sunflower. So in case you just joined us, I'm Nancy Seiler, and I'm talking about nature journaling using the QoR Mini Watercolor set. So hopefully you can see that, see everything here. All right, I'm going to go check some messages and see if I have anything I need to respond. All right, I see I'm delayed. I'm sorry, I'm not an IT person. Hopefully it'll catch up. Wow. All right, how about this? All right, well, all right, let's try back. Can you see this camera with me, the tabletop, and the little graphic up in the corner? Oh boy. All right, well, I'm going to keep going. Are we there? Oh, good. All right, thanks, Lee. All right. Okay, hopefully here we'll show the examples again right here. All right, can you see this? All right, great, great. Okay, so here's the Grand Canyon. I had talked about being there. I'm just going to go through these examples. This is an event map I learned from Hannah Hinchman, where you go out and record things that you see very closely. A little sketch from Laughing Horse Lodge up in Swan Lake, Montana, where I do a workshop every year. And we're actually doing one this year with social distancing. A couple more sketches there. Hopefully you can see this. Oh, good. I'm glad. Thanks, Susie. This is a bird that I found in my friend's yard and was able to look really closely at that and draw its foot. It's a pine siskin. Here's the wing extended out and the actual feather. All right, well. Okay, we're back at the main camera here. All right, so how's that looking? Okay. Anyway, can you see these examples? This is something else, this tech stuff. Some event mapping. Little sketch. Is it working? All right. Okay, so straight on face camera, hold up my journal. Give me the thumbs up if that's working. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. This is something else. All right. A couple other sketches. You know, we're all having fun trying to learn how to teach online and all of that, and it's just a different animal altogether, and I'm just getting to know that animal. All right, some more sketches, event mapping. Again, event mapping is just going out and looking very closely at things. All right. This is down in Escalante, my neighbor, or a friend's yard, Lisa Hartman. If you're on, Lisa, hi. She has a beautiful yard, and I spent a lot of time just looking around in her yard. Okay, closer to the camera. Is that better? So event mapping is where you take your journal. I just take my journal and I go out into a wild place or a garden or anywhere, and I look very closely at things, sometimes using a magnifying glass like this. So what I do is I just take my pen, my Micron pen, and I take my journal. I don't even worry about color. And then I just go around and I sketch things looking closely. And then when I get back home, I get a field guide and I'll look up things in the field guide. This is Northern Rocky Mountain Wildflowers by Wayne Phillips, great little book. And sometimes I'll take my iPhone and take some photos. So this is a paintbrush, actual paintbrush, not one of these, but one of these. This is a native plant in Montana. And I drew one in my journal today. I did the drawing yesterday and drew this today or painted this today. And this is a paintbrush. So I spent a lot of time looking really closely. Here's another kind of an event map. I sat on the side of a mountain up in Missoula and drew the native plants that were in bloom the other day. This was May 2nd. So those are some examples. How's everything going? Thank you, Terry. Everything going okay? All right. Here is, so going back to the mini, I want to talk a little bit about mixing colors. And I'm just going to touch on this. Colors, you know, there's so many colors out of the market, and there's also lots of sets of paint where you have to figure out what's maybe a warm yellow or a cool yellow, although I go with biases. So I'll get to biases here in a minute. This is the QoR Mini palette. That's what this is, but I've just painted onto the paper each swatch that I'm using. So I've got 2 yellows, 2 reds, and 2 blues that I'm going to focus on for the color mixing. The other 6 colors are wonderful, and I use them a lot, but I just want to show you how I talk about biases here. So Kathy Jennings, I think she'll post a link I gave her to my blog where there's an article on nature journaling and also how I get started with nature journaling, some tips to get you started if you don't do it. And there's also these examples that I scanned in and posted on my blog. So this is the QoR Mini using 2 yellows, 2 blues, and 2 reds. And what I do is I have a yellow that is biased toward green, which is this in the QoR Mini, the cadmium yellow primrose. And then I have the yellow here that is biased toward orange, and that is the nickel azo yellow. I'm using the pyrrole red medium, and that is a red that is biased here, biased toward orange. It leans toward orange. All right. Another red, the quinacridone red, or sorry, the quinacridone magenta, sorry about that. That's biased toward violet. And then the two blues. You've got an ultramarine blue, which is biased toward violet. That is this one. And the phthalo blue green shade, which is biased toward green. And the reason I show you this is because if you want to get the brightest green, you're going to use the yellow and the blue that are biased toward green. The green yellow, the blue yellow. To get the brightest orange, you're going to use the yellow and the red that are leaning toward orange. And then to get the brightest purple, you'll use the two that are leaning toward violet. And again, you can look this up on my blog and look at this closer. Okay. Now, I want to show you these examples because these are greens, oranges, and violets. These are secondary colors. I just showed you primary colors. So these are 4 different greens, and what these are using the brightest green, the yellow and the blue that are biased toward the green, and then other combinations that give you a mid-green or a dull green using those 6 primaries. And then these are the oranges. And again, the brightest oranges to the dullest oranges. And the violets, the brightest violets to the dullest violets. And this is just good information to have no matter what medium you're working in, whether it be acrylics or oils or watercolors, anything, colored pencils. It's good to know this information, these biases. You can also get some nice dull colors, dull down your colors by using complementaries. So I'm using the reds, the yellows, and the blues, the primaries. And then these are the secondaries I mixed up from what I just showed you. And then the duller colors that come, that happen with that. All right. Okay, so the blog, I see Dorothy had a question where my blog is. It's on my website, nancyseiler.com. That's SEILER.com. And if you go to the blog link on there, and I just updated all this, so that should work. Anyway, the articles there, Dorothy, and also the cards that I just showed you are there. And I see Kathy just posted that. So you can link to that and see those items. Now, let me show you that paintbrush I did. And again, I'm going to have to hold this up because the other camera isn't working, I guess. So here is the paintbrush, and these are mixtures I used. Let's see if I can get this straight. I used for this paintbrush. So I started, can y'all see this okay? I started with using a yellow, 2 yellows here to get this brighter yellow, and I painted yellow over the whole drawing as a base. Because watercolor is transparent, so you can put colors on top of it, and that yellow glow will come through. When I'm painting, I always try to look for the undertone of a object, a specimen. And for this, I saw yellow in the photo. Here's the photo. And as an artist, you know, this is your interpretation of it. It doesn't need to match the photo. It doesn't need to be a botanical illustration and be really detailed, but it's your interpretation. And so this is the process I used to build up the color. I started with yellow, and then I mixed up this dull green. Now, this is the dull green using the colors, the blue and the yellow that are pointed away from the bright green. So I'm using the nickel azo yellow, which is an orange yellow, and an ultramarine blue, which is a violet blue. So that's going to give you a duller green, okay? And then I use the straight Pyrrole Red medium, the orange, sorry, the orange red, and painted over that yellow after it was dry. You always want to wait for those layers to be dry, and the way you can tell if they're dry is if you touch the back of your hand to your painting just lightly, and if it feels cool, that means it's still wet. So you want to wait, okay? And then I just built up colors over that. So green, the dull green, and the red. I mixed the quinacridone magenta and the Pyrrole red, the orange red, and the violet red together to get a nice tone that I could place over the green area. Whenever you have a plant that has a lot of foliage at the bottom, say it's green, and then you have maybe a red bloom like this, it could be a tulip, could be a red rose, could be this paintbrush. You always want to take some of that green and put it up in the red for the shadows, and take some of that red and put it down in the green for the shadows, because that way, there you go, Patricia, I see you want a close up. So that way you can make the whole drawing meld together, I guess. So it doesn't look like a lollipop on a stick. That's what I tell some of my students sometimes. Okay, so let me take a look at some of your questions. Just bear with me here. Hi, Rosie, Dorothy. So good to see you all, or not see you, but see your comments. All right. I want to show you one more thing, and then I will take some more questions. Let's see. I hope this is working okay. Oh my goodness. All right, I want to show you this. This is kind of fun. This is a nature journaling block that I've been working on. Can you see that okay? This is delphinium. This is a native plant up in Montana here. And what I've done is I've mounted it on a cradle board, okay? And the way I've mounted that is, yes, good question, Vicki, are they light fast? Okay, this watercolor has been varnished. 2 coats of golden gloss archival varnish, 2 coats, and that gloss varnish is what keeps the colors really bright on this watercolor, okay? But you have to varnish watercolors because they're watercolors. If they get splashed with water, it's going to smear, you know, so you have to protect it. That's why watercolors are usually under glass. So 2 coats of gloss varnish, and let those dry in between the coats, and then 2 coats of satin varnish. Okay, so, and Francis, I see this video is going to be saved. Hopefully it's okay. I can't edit it, but you can go back and watch it for, I think it's on for 3 months. And you can also, if you have questions, call materials application specialists. Kathy Jennings can give you the link on that, and ask any questions of them. They're great. You can call them up or email them. It's great. So this watercolor has 2 coats of gloss varnish to keep it bright, 2 coats of satin varnish to kind of make it look like watercolor paper again. And then the watercolor itself is actually adhered to this board with soft gel gloss. You put a coat of soft gel gloss, which is an acrylic product, on the board and on the back of the watercolor. And then this is a board I'm using. And this is a watercolor I did yesterday. And what I would do is mount this right onto the board and then turn it over and cut it out with an X-Acto knife. Okay. And I may show that down the road here, another demo. We'll see. So that's just a fun way to take uh, your images. You can either take them right out of your journal if you have a nice drawing, or a lot of times I just paint on a 6x8 watercolor sheet. This is Fabriano. I believe, Kathy, these are the samples we get sent to us, so I believe it's Fabriano. Very nice. No, not varnished on both sides, just varnished on the watercolor side. 4 coats, 2 gloss, 2 satin. Okay, and so I am going to see. Okay, I'm going to check some questions again and try to answer some of that. Do I varnish before mounting? Yes. I put my varnish out, or my watercolor out in my driveway on a nice day, and I put a light spray over it. I just probably like that. Let it dry about 10 minutes. Do the next coat. Same with the following 2 coats of satin. Let it dry well, and then I go ahead and mount it on the board. And then what I do is I use a brayer. I use a piece of like parchment paper over the watercolor and press that in onto the board real well. And then flip the whole shebang over. Get rid of the excess gloss gel. You don't need that much, but you do want to cover both surfaces. But get rid of the excess with a palette knife. And then you can wait for it to dry overnight if you want to, but I just go ahead and get an X-Acto knife, take a deep breath, and cut those sides right up against the wood. And then what you want to do is flip it over, put that parchment paper back on it, weight it with a few books, and the next day it's nice and crisp like this. You get a nice cut, and then you can just put it right on the wall, or you can set it on a surface like this. So kind of fun. Let's see. Okay, so Kathy's answering some questions for you. Kathy Jennings at QoR Watercolors at Golden. She's a great resource. I hope you'll take a look at her Just Paint article about the QoR Mini and the Just Paint article that has this fun little laminated piece. This is actually from her article. I'm not sure if I showed this to you, but I printed it out on a photograph. This is a grid for the Mini for all of the 12 colors of the Mini. And what she's done is she's painted all those colors right here down through here, and then she shows the mix of those. So when I'm out in the field, I can, you know, put this up next to the plant and match the color. So this is great. This is in the Just Paint article, and I've mentioned to my students to just print it out, take it to like a FedEx place, laminate it, and put it in the back of your journal to have it there. Okay, let's see. Waxing watercolor paintings. I have no idea on that. Maybe Kathy or someone at Golden could answer that. Let's see. Sue Jones, glad you think that's fun. It is fun. Let's see. Do I varnish before mounting? Yes. Okay. Does the spray varnish impact the paint? No, just don't hold it so close when you varnish. Just hold it about 8 or 10 inches away and do a light spray across the painting. But always test things first. So do some bright colors on a scrap piece of paper, do some duller colors, use your ink pen. My Micron ink pen does not smear, but you want to test this stuff out before you do it on a big painting, please. Always. Does the varnish change the painting at all? You know, I would say no. I have not noticed a change in the colors from varnishing those 4 coats. All right. Yeah, you know, people really like to hear that information about varnishing these watercolors. It's super fun. Janet from Fallbrook. All right. I wish I could see you, but I can't. Colors Light fast, yes. The colors are light fast. All of QoR colors are 1 or 2 light fastness. Maybe you could link an article to the light fastness for me, Kathy, on the QoR. Golden does a lot of testing. Golden QoR colors are owned by Golden, so that's why I keep interspersing with Golden. Oh yeah, QoR watercolors. They're fantastic. Hi, Amy Shawley, Paquette. Great to see you. Hear you. All right, I think I've gotten all those. Any other questions? Hi, Justin. Do I ever paint the sides of the board? Rosie, nice to hear from you. Yeah, I do. What I do if I'm going to paint the sides is, and I do this with, I can do it with watercolor or acrylics. I do mount acrylics like this too, or oil and cold wax. What I do is I put a layer of gloss medium on the raw board, because that will prevent surface induced discoloration where the resin in the board migrates up through your paint. So I always put that on the sides, or if I'm actually working on a raw board like this, I always put 2 layers of gloss medium on it to prevent surface-induced discoloration. And you'll see that discoloration if you don't do that in your lighter colors like yellows and your white areas. You'll see that staining come up through there. So you always want to do that. So I put that gloss medium on the side, and then I go ahead and paint this with acrylic, actually. If I would use like a fluid acrylic. My go-to is a raw umber fluid, and it's a nice neutral, warm neutral for me. So that's really fun. Okay. What do I put my paintbrushes in to keep them safe in your bag? You know, sometimes I'll keep that little clear tube and carefully put that back over the brush. I'll wet the brush, make sure it comes to a point, and then very carefully, sometimes I'll turn it and put that back on. I haven't worried too much about this, about the brushes. I have, my bag is big enough so that they lay sideways in the side and they don't rattle around in there. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Let's see. I'm going to be on Friday, and okay, so I'm going to be on Friday again at 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, noon in Montana. And I'm going to actually talk more about how to create a page in my journal, like the design of it, and what I think about when I go out and sit down and start looking around, and how I create a page. So there's going to be some graphic design input. I am a graphic designer and have been for a long time. So a lot of my pages have kind of a graphic design element to them, where sometimes I'll have like a main image and then smaller vignettes around it. Let's see if I can find something else. Here's another one from the Grand Canyon. This is a close-up of some a rock that was across from Hance Rapid, and then this I used just use a water-soluble pen, a Pilot Razor Point, which is one of my favorite water-soluble pens, and just added a little bit of water to that. But these are like different, you know, just the way I approach a page. I like to do a little writing. Sometimes I'll just draw. Sometimes I'll paint like a whole scene. So we'll talk about that on Friday. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, thank you. Any other questions here? Let's see. Do the varnishes have a UV protectant? UVLS, yes. Ultraviolet light, protects from ultraviolet light, yes. Marty, Okay, let's see. What brand was the field brush that stores the handle? That's a silver, number 4 silver black velvet. I don't know if they come in a bigger size. It's got a real nice point for fine work. I like a little bit of a bigger brush for doing most of my work, a brush that comes to a nice point. You could use a silver silk 88 that's got a nice spring to it. So that works well. Let's see. What's the best way to link up to my sessions? I had a hard time getting on this. Yeah, me too. Michael. So take a look at my website and you can sign up for my newsletter there. Just go sign up for my newsletter on the homepage up in the right corner. And then I just sent out a newsletter. So I can resend that to whoever wants it after you sign up. Just let me know. Maybe shoot me an email and say you signed up, and I'll make sure you get that. Obviously, a lot of our workshops have been canceled because of what's happening around the world. But I am doing one up at Swan Lake in Montana with a very low amount of people, maybe 6 to 8 people maximum. And we each have our own room and we're social distancing. We have a lot of room in Montana, thankfully. So that's happening at the end of June. That's in my newsletter, 3-day nature journaling class. I think, any other questions? Say again what I used to glue the watercolor paper to the board. That's soft gel gloss. This is a golden product. It's acrylic, and it's white when wet and dries clear. So I love this stuff. You can extend acrylic colors with it and so forth. What was my journal I used? This is a Moleskine, I believe. It's a watercolor journal, and it's got nice thick paper. When you use watercolors in a journal, you want to make sure you've got a nice paper that is going to accept water. Otherwise, if you use a journal that has drawing paper in it, it's going to become very wrinkly with the water. So anyway, that's what I like to use. It's about $20, but I feel like it's worth it. You can certainly buy cheaper journals for maybe $6, like a mixed media Strathmore journal. It's got a thicker paper in it. But I feel like I save all my journals to look at down the road. And nature journaling, just to sum up, nature journaling, when I go back to one of those pages, I remember exactly what I was doing when I was sitting there. And anyway, am I still on? Would you recommend putting down a layer of gloss and letting it dry before adhering paper? No, Kathleen. I would put the 2 layers of gloss medium down, let it dry. Yes. Oh no. Yes. You're talking about the surface-induced discoloration. Yeah. Put 2 layers of gloss medium down, let them dry, and then put the soft gel over that and then adhere while it's wet. All right. Okay, good. Let's see, it's about 1:45. I think I end at 1. Is that right, Stacy or Sunday? Kathy Jennings? Any other questions? Are these journals 140 pound? You know, I think so. I'm not sure. You'd have to, you know what, there's a link on my website. If you go to workshops and then down to materials and you click on materials, go to nancyseiler.com, click on materials, and you will see the Moleskine link. And if you go to that link, it'll have all the information. Okay. So hopefully I'll see you again on Friday. Again, 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, where I'll talk more about my journals. Thank you so much, everybody, for bearing with me with technical issues. It's really a challenge for us that are used to talking in front of groups and actual people to be I'm looking at my laptop and there's nothing there except your comments. So anyway, thank you so much. And Celeste, before I get off, Celeste wants to talk about the blocks I use, and there is a link to that. It's called Apollon Go Trick. Apollon Go Trick. All right. I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. And I hope to see you again on Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.